Good morning. I can't stand behind a podium, so can everyone hear me okay? Yeah. Right. Can I ask you all please to raise your hands if you think that data and technology is going to increase in our sector in the next few years? Excellent. And can I ask you all to please raise your hands once again if you think that that is going to influence how we deliver those services and how our clients expect us to deliver those services? Great, so everyone's pretty much on the same page. Thank you very much. So what I'd like to talk to you about today is business intelligence, and really how intelligence is likely to affect the way that we deliver our services moving forward. So let me talk about possibly some situations where you are. You may be in an organisation where you're not overly sure about what's happening and what's going on in this whole world of data. And so you're sort of sitting there and going, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to hang fire for a bit and I'm going to let other people make all the mistakes and I'm going to learn those lessons and I'm going to move forward. Or alternatively, you've gone out and you've hired an analyst, and that analyst has joined the business and he's now got together some data from across the organisation and he's got some Excel spreadsheets and he's pumped those into Power BI and the board is over the moon. But you know that there's just no way that this is going to be scalable, considering what we're seeing this morning and the data that's going to arrive. Perhaps you're with a larger organisation, and within there you had a bit of funding to do this, so the IT department was told, well, data's the new oil, it's really time we did something about that. So I tell you what, let's go and employ a data architect, maybe a database engineer, let's build some data systems, and let's then find a visualization tool, and let's start to look at what we can visualize in the organization. Unfortunately, as you've seen this morning, the amount of data that we're going to receive over the next 3 to 5 years is just never going to be sufficient. So that team are going to be running around like lunatics. Finally, the corporates. They're a wonderful job because they had the money to throw at this. And they turned around and said, right, what we need now is a data architect, a database engineer, we need a data scientist, we need some data analysts. In addition to that, we need a BI consultant, we need a business consultant, we need some project managers, then we need some cloud infrastructure. We've got to throw all of that together. Then what we'll do is we'll buy some analytical tools. Great, we've now started to really experience the world of what intelligence or data can deliver to us. But that's a very, very expensive approach. And is it really core to the FM sector? Is that really what FM is about? So, how would it be if we were looking at it from a different perspective, from a slightly different angle? What would be the situation if we, instead of looking at the world of data, we were actually looking at the world of intelligence? We were actually turning around and saying, well, what is it our clients are looking for? What will intelligence deliver to our organisation? And although we want to own and control that data, do we really need to own everything in order to be able to ask the right questions, get the right answers, and then improve the way that we deliver services to our clients or to the built environment? So, based on that, the question is, how do you get from where you are to where you'd like to be? Well, in the past, what we've always done is, as FM organisations, we go, right, well, we need to evidence to our clients, how are we going to deliver those services? And so we go with KPIs. Let's put some KPIs. And they can be forward-looking, or they can be inward-based, they can be outward-based. But we're always looking in the past. We're always sitting there in the past and going, well, this is what I've done, this is what I've been able to achieve. but have I necessarily thought about how that is going to innovate for my clients in the future? So what do our clients really want from us? Well, they want an environment that's conducive for their people. They want environments that's conducive for their customers. They want healthy environments. They want safe environments. They want us to help them with energy consumption, with reduction of energy utilisation, with all sorts of ways of saving money for the future. They want us to help them cut their CO2, and they want us to help with ESG. So they're asking for all of these things. We're still telling them we're delivering their KPIs. They've asked for innovation. They're always a big one on every tender document. What are you going to do to innovate for us? But how can we innovate when in the next breath they're saying, well, but we have to be cheaper. We have to be more cost effective. We have to do more for less. But don't forget to bring us more innovation. I'm going to talk to you now very quickly about why this is important now. This is the Datore's for Future model. I haven't spelt that wrong, by the way. This was created many moons ago by a chap called Jim Datore, and nothing to do with us whatsoever. But what he talks about is inflection points. And those inflection points are the points in time where you need to consider, are you going to make your business transformational? Are you going to reach certain limits? Or are you going to enter a point of collapse? Data, systems and intelligence in FM are fast reaching that inflection point. And it's time for now not to sit on that fence, but time to look at what is your strategy for both data and for intelligence. Everyone has said data is the new oil. I love that expression, data is the new oil, because it really does work as a great analogy. Oil, like data, is pretty much bloody useless until you've actually refined it. And the value of data and the value of oil increases as you refine it. So, when you turn oil into petrol, it now allows you to do more with it in exactly the same way as when you turn data into refined and organised data, it allows you to do a lot more with it. But what? Well, in the petrol scenario, we want to move from point A to point B. We want to reach our destination. In the data scenario, we now want to apply analytics. We want to analyse that data, not just visualise. We want to actually start to look for intelligent outcomes that we can get from what we've created. How do we get from A to B faster, more efficiently? Well, we use a sat-nav, and that works well. Most people here, I'm sure, have used one in the past. In the world of analytics, we use AI and machine learning models. Everyone talks about the complexity of AI and ML. It really isn't any more complex than generating some programs that will allow you to automate certain tasks. Off of the back of that, great, you've reached your destination. And off of the back of that, in the world of data, you've hopefully got to a point where you've decided what are the right questions and what are the right answers and how do I get there. Your decision now, your inflection point, is how much of that do you want to own, how much of that do you want to control, how much money do you want to spend. When you want to get a cleaner to a site, Did you go and build an oil refinery? Did you go and construct a car or write the software for a satellite navigation system? No, because they existed. And yet, for some reason, in the world of business intelligence, we think that we should be building those data lakes. We should be creating those refineries. We should be building those analytical tools and developing our own AI and ML models. So, let me move on to what I think are probably the 4 critical areas of consideration. The world of data and the world of data in FM and in the built environment is going to be dominated by volume. It is going to be huge. And allowing for that, building for that, creating an architecture that manages that, creating scalability is the biggest challenge. With all of these things, all of this data, video data, virtual environments, everything else, if you can't capture it and compare it, then you're not going to be able to benefit from it. My second point is analytics is different to business intelligence. Analytics is about how you take the data that you've captured and turn that into something that you can actually produce and allow your teams, your intelligent teams, to be able to work with, to be able to build the questions and the answers that will make a difference to your organisation. So, the problem with analytics is it's very complicated. There are hundreds of tools. There are hundreds of people vying to tell you that theirs is the best. It is very, very difficult to stay on top of. And if you're going to do that in-house, then you're going to have to employ the individuals who are going to sit there and say, yes, this is the right tool, this is the decision we're making, etc., etc. So, it is my belief that over the next few years, what we're going to see is an outsourcing of data and an outsourcing of analytics. Data as a service, as it's being called, is something that I believe we are going to see adopted within the sector. And I believe that data as a service is not just something that I believe, is something that Gartner and G2 Cloud are also saying are going to be services that people are going to move towards. Analytics as a service is going to be using the tools and the technologies that are required to be able to deliver intelligence in an organisation without having to buy all of those tools and those technologies. Next up, I think we're going to see more development of ML, machine learning. I think we'll see a lot more people talking about AI, but machine learning is really going to be something where our industry can take specific ideas or specific problems for specific clients and create models that allow you to automate some of those processes, that allow you to be able to deliver your services without tying up people all of the time, freeing some of those individuals to be able to do more whilst the machine learning takes the data systems and applies them to what the client is looking for you to achieve. And finally, I think a little bit more controversially, I think what we're going to see is the creation within organisations of intelligence-based delivery models that fall outside of IT. As long as it sits within IT, we are still going to be talking about clouds, infrastructure, databases, modeling tools, ETLs, etc., etc. But actually, what you want to be doing is answering the so what question. And this is something that within the military we talk about all the time. The military, despite what you may think, is very, very good at intelligence. They're very, very good at understanding what is likely to happen next. And the so what is about that. So what does that information tell me? So what does my client require? So what do I deliver in order to make that next step? And that can't be done from within an IT department, because IT departments are not looking at the future of FM, they're looking at the future of technology. But you have those skills, you have those FM skills within your organisations. So how do you get those FM skills out to the individuals, that business intelligence, that understanding, so that they can make those intelligent assessments? So I want to tell you a little bit of a story. A client of ours called Jason. Jason came to us around about 3 years ago, and they were generating around 200 gigabytes of data every single year. They had licensed an analytics platform, and it had failed. It hadn't really delivered what they were looking for. But the reason it had failed was because what they'd done was try to bolt that to a 1,000,000-line Excel spreadsheet. Because the supplier had said, yeah, that will do that, no problem at all. And all they were trying to do was deliver some KPIs back to their client. They wanted to build a database to get around that problem. So they went out to market, and the market said, yeah, well, based on what you do, it's going to cost you £250,000 because you need huge amounts of storage. And that just simply wasn't viable for them. So they tried to do it themselves, and it fell over. They came to us and they said, can you help us please? So we built a small database, we restructured it for them, we created that data, and we started to capture all of that information. We built out a set of dashboards, and within 2 to 3 weeks they were live, they were up and running, and they were happy. We'd managed to get 47 solar farms onto a single database, and all of that information was now going into a single place, and it was being reported out to their data team. They now reached a point where they'd added up 135 solar farms and 2 battery storage areas. Battery storage is quite interesting because battery sells into the grid every single second, so every piece of data has to be captured on a per second basis. This jumped them up to 200 gigabytes a month. It was at this point that they reached their inflection point. They then turned around and said, actually, we don't want a data team, we want intelligence and an intelligence-led approach. We want to deliver this data to our asset managers so that they can communicate to our clients how well we're doing. So we integrated that and infused those analytics into teams. And we created an auto-generated report that saved those asset managers 8, 10, 12 hours of building a report out every single month. Unfortunately, we then reached a point where this was no longer scalable as well. So we've learned that problem. We've learned that solution. We had to go and build a new big data database. And we had to turn everything that we've done into infrastructure as code. If you are doing this in-house, I heartily recommend that you look at infrastructure as code. It's the only way of scaling into the future. Today, we're about to start looking at how we map those sites and overlay that data onto their dashboards so they can see where things aren't working properly, or they can see things are working properly. We're also creating some machine learning for them so that their production automation can be improved when things start to go awry. We've developed auto-scaling for their storage, which is one element, and we're launching out multiple environments for both development, production. All of that requires a whole host of management and a whole host of quite technical services that I really won't bore you with. Yes, I've seen it. We're now up to 200 gigabytes of data per week, and moving forward, we're going to start looking at how we auto-scale the processing of that data as well. In 18 months, because they're growing from 1 gigawatt of electricity to 20 gigawatts of electricity, they will be running at about 200 gigabytes of data every single day. The only way we can do that is by automating site integrations, automating maintenance. So, in summary, think about the volume, think about how you're going to manage that volume, and think about your data strategy and architecture. Because if you get it wrong now, it will cost you hundreds of thousands further down the line. Think about your analytics tool and whether you want to own it or whether you can outsource it, whether someone else can manage and run that for you. Exactly the same, can someone outsource and manage and run your data for you? Think about automation. How are you going to bring automation through all of this technology and information? And most importantly of all, please, look at how you answer the so what questions. The right question, the right answer. There was a great thing that came the other day that I saw from an analyst in America who turned around and said that the answer may not be a needle and it may not be hidden in a haystack. That's how we're going to go in terms of data within FM. Thank you all very much indeed.